All right, MYB, thank you so much for coming back to us. Entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. There's no business like minding your own. I'm your host, Champ Ron. We're here for episode number 179 of the Minding Your Business podcast. Make sure you check us out wherever you get your podcast, as well as the mybpodcast.com. And of course, we're brought to you as always by the Binge Podcast Network. Listen, I'm extremely excited about today's guest joining, and this episode again is sponsored by Olivia Magro, who's a tremendous friend of the podcast. You can actually check her out on episode number 100 of the podcast, where her and I had tremendous fun last year celebrating the 100th episode. But we're here at episode 179, and I've got a tremendous guest that you're really going to enjoy, MYB. I really want you to pay attention. She delivers tremendous content and has for some time. And she's tremendous. If you're watching here, you get the treat because she's very young. She looks very young here. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, she's done all this. But Regina Curry is our guest today. She is an author, producer, and she's the CEO of Pearl Productions, Publishing and Distribution. You can check her out and her entire team at pearlppd.com. And it's scrolling here if you're watching on YouTube or wherever you might be watching this video. And it's certainly in the show notes. Go to pearlppd.com. Make sure you interact with her and check her out. Pearl, thank you. Or I'm saying Pearl. I'm so caught up on the web address. Regina, thank you so much for joining, and I appreciate you taking time.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excellent. Let's jump right into it, okay?
Okay.
Because audience, and in preparing and reading about you, I became certainly very intrigued, right, about your background and how you got to where you are. Because I know we all have our story, right? And so I'd love to hear yours. What's your story and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I'm a native Washingtonian, and
oh, really? I lived there too for a little bit.
Okay.
Seattle, I lived in the Seattle area, Seattle Tacoma area. Yeah.
No, I'm Washington, D.C.
No, DC. And that's the other thing. So I lived there too. So I lived in both Washington State and DC. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So you're right.
I lived right around from Union Station. So I was in the heart of everything. Yeah. So but go ahead.
Well, I lived on. My family's lived all over the DMV.
Okay.
So I won't give one particular place, but yeah, I'm a Washingtonian. I graduated from Duke Ellington School of the Performing Arts, and that's here in DC. And then I graduated from Howard. My father.
Excellent. Bison.
Yeah, I'm a Bison. School of Communications.
There you go.
Yeah. And my dad was a bishop in the area, so I'm a PK.
Okay.
You know what they say about us.
Excellent. Yeah. No, that's what's up.
So I've been around the arts a lot. My dad was he was a bishop, but he was also a singer.
Okay.
And I went to Duke Ellington for singing. That's kind of how I started. But I soon realized that I'm basically better behind the camera than in front. So, and so I kind of grew a love for that. When I got to Howard, I came into a love for writing screenplays. Okay. And so I've written a couple of screenplays, and my book it started out as a screenplay, and then I turned it into a novel. I'm not a novel writer, but I turned my book into a novel because I thought it was probably the most important of my 3 screenplays. Okay. And so I had a lot of different people working with me trying to shop the screenplays. And after a while, I just kind of thought, I think I'm going to do this myself because sometimes it's very hard to sell your story. It is. If it doesn't fit the narrative. Right. And so I just said, well, you know what? I think if I want to tell my story, I'm going to have to fund it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I'm going to have to kind of produce it and so on and so forth. And so that's kind of how I got started. I did graduate from Howard School of Communications. I taught in the public school system for a while. I taught Spanish.
Okay.
That was my minor in college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I started my business that way. It's like sometimes you have to go after what you want, and you can't depend on people always to get it for you.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt about it. I wholeheartedly agree, Regina,
yeah.
more than you know. So with that notion of, obviously you've got to work on it yourself. You got to have the mindset and things like that. Talk about those early days in your business. Obviously you create content, right? And, for us to challenge our critical thinking, to challenge our views of the world, and to give us holistic perspective.
Yeah.
Those early days of when you're putting it together, because a lot of people listening to this that's where their big challenge is. How do I get started? Right. Like you say, people, you don't have Hollywood running to you, in the beginning saying, here's a chance, Gina, we love your content. There's no Tyler Perry, there's no Oprah, there's none of these folks, right? Standing in line for you. So you're putting this out, you believe in yourself, and you're putting this out there. Talk about those early days and how what really kind of jumped it off for you.
Well, in my early, I started early, like right after Howard, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And it's just, I knew that it was something that I needed to do. Mm-hmm. It's not that difficult. So for people who are trying to start a business, it's not that difficult. You have to figure out what type of a corporation you want to be, and then you go forth, in that way.
Yeah.
And it's very lonely.
Yes.
Because not everyone sees your drive, and you're going to have to fund a lot of it, but in the long run, that works well for you. Yeah. And so I just started. I thought, well, I need to do this, and then I started looking into direct sales. So I said, okay, well, I think I'm going to stick with direct sales. I think people who have a product, they definitely should stick with direct sales, and just look into that. You have to do research. You have to put time into it, and don't be afraid to start alone.
Yeah.
You're not going to always have a team behind you. So you need to start alone, and then you can build a team with that. But put the work in yourself.
Yes.
Discipline yourself to just pursue exactly what you want to pursue, mm-hmm. so that when you get to that point where it's time to move forward, you don't have to, you're not asking permission for everything, and then you're on your right, you're in your lane.
Yeah.
And I think we as individuals, we as entrepreneurs and as businessmen and women, we know what our lane is.
Yes.
And sometimes other people can put you in a lane, and so stick to your own lane, because that's where you're going to be your most successful anyway, because that's where you're going to be your the purest you.
Yeah, and I can tell you are a content creator. You're dropping jewels already right out the gate. I love it. What we call that, you're podding now.
Okay.
Yeah, you podding now for sure. As you speak a lot to mindset, Regina, and I think a lot of people listening to this, that's where they have their biggest challenge is the mindset. Right. You talked about going at it alone. One of the things that social media tends to bring is this. We have this feeling of community where we're around, but everybody may not be as supportive. Right.
Right.
And what happens is, and I share with people that a lot of times the people you may be closest to, or maybe your closest people interacting on, say social media, aren't necessarily your early adopters to your business. Right. And something I did a couple of years ago that was eye-opening, that is still kind of out there on social media. I did an experiment, Regina, and I want to get your thoughts on this because I think you'll have some good insight and can relate to this. Sure. I posted back-to-back posts. I posted, I got the job. And then right after that, I posted, I started the business. And you wouldn't believe that the I got the job post got twice the engagement. I must have got 400 likes and 200 and something comments of people congratulating me. What are you going to be doing? What are you going to be this? Where's it going to be? And then half of that, I still got, pretty decent engagement, but it was half on the I started the business. There were some people that were like, oh, okay, you let me know, I can share it, blah, 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 but not near the excitement as the job piece, right? And so I'd love to get your thoughts on that and how that can lead to that frustration where you feel like, oh, nobody's really going to support me. If I say I'm going out to have fun, people say, oh, when we going to go? When we're going? We're going to the club, we're going to the picnic, we're going to go cook out. But then when it's time to, okay, let me share with you about my book, you get the crickets or, ones or twosies, that sort of thing. Can you talk through overcoming that mindset? Because I imagine you've had to do that in your career.
Yeah.
So far.
Yes. And you definitely have to overcome that mindset. You just can't go into this thinking that you're going to be rooted on. Yeah. You really need to know if you want to do it.
Yes.
Because like you said, most people, they're going to congratulate you in the area that they're familiar with.
Right.
So
exactly.
Getting a job and working for, other people and going that route, they're more familiar with that.
Right.
So when you are dealing with entrepreneurship, a lot of people they're not familiar with it. So I don't think it's necessarily it's a bad nod or something. I just think it's something that people just don't. It's not the norm. It's not the and so and that's where I was talking about earlier as far as just you're going to be alone.
Yeah.
You're going to be alone a lot, and please don't let that bother you.
Right. Exactly.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, so it is. It can be. It could definitely be. It could definitely be a good thing. Oftentimes, because it gives you a sense of clarity. It gives you, again, if you can manage the mindset, you don't have to have the immediate gratification. Regina, like you're talked about, and you believe you have this great. And I think successful people have this tenacious belief in themselves, even when they run into obstacles, right? And even when they face tough times, personally and professionally, there's something innate within them that allows them to keep going. And I imagine that your content, your company, and the content that you produce and create mirrors that. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes. Okay. Yes. And I basically set it up in that way because I have to motivate myself. I have to be true to myself, and that's the only way I can keep going, because it is difficult, and I don't want to give people the idea that it's something just really simple. It's difficult, but if you want it bad enough, you will pursue it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Regina Curry is our guest today, author, producer, and CEO of Pearl Productions. Regina, let's get into your most recent book. I was reading about this, and it struck a chord. And I wanted to ask you this question because you mentioned it was mentioned about you that you struggled to find really true, authentic Christian stories. Right. Of the Christian faith. And that, led to you producing the work marked the beginning of the end, which MYB, make sure you go to, again, pearlppd.com. That's for Pearl Productions. Make sure you go that so that you can get your copy of the book so that you can read it and provide feedback back to Regina. I want y'all to do that for me. Okay.
Yeah.
But talk about that. Talk about that struggle. What was that struggle to find? Because Christianity is the dominant, obviously, religion here in the United States of America, and so why was it a struggle to find those? I imagine authentic Christian stories. I could probably add in that adverb. What was that struggle, and how did you work to overcome it?
Well, for me, the struggle was the type of stories being told. Like my company, I will never publish how-to book because, Christianity, let me take that word out. The Most High is so vast. Okay. So the way he operates, more than likely, he's not going to do it the same way because everyone that we come in contact with him are different people.
Right.
And so I don't like the how-to books. What I like and what I did not see was more of the supernatural part of Christ
Right.
And me being a TV person, I've loved superheroes all my life. And so the book, Mark the Beginning of the End, is actually more than likely will be considered the first Christian superhero because it deals with supernatural acts. And when I have talked with some publishers, and they tried to group me in this. They wanted to say Christian fantasy, and I didn't know if I wanted my book to be in that genre because I don't really consider it fantasy. It's more prophetic. Yeah. And Christian fantasy is more, some of the people in that genre are like the Chronicles of Narnia and Tolkien and some of these people. And I'm like, well, I didn't know they were Christian.
Right.
And so it's very blurry. How the genres are mixing. And so I just wanted to express Christ and how I see this world going. And I just wanted to express that in the way that I've been taught. Like I said, I'm the child of a bishop. So I've seen so many different things that I've never seen in books before. It's like some of the Christian, I don't want to down any. I'm not downing. I'm just, my preference is, I just want to see more of that supernatural ability of Christ. I just want to see him in a more dynamic way in novels.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so when I wrote Marked, like I said, I really wrote it as a screenplay. I didn't write it as a novel. I had to change it into a novel, but it was to show the dynamics of Christ and the supernatural ability of Jonathan Peterson and how it's biblical. And so I do want people to, I'm very interested in getting feedback from people. I'm getting all types of feedback, but all of his supernatural exploits are basically based in the Bible.
Yes.
And these are Bible stories and they're real.
Yeah, absolutely. And I read that the book is based on the book of Ezekiel, which is interesting to me.
Not the book of Ezekiel. It's the Jonathan Peterson and the title is based on Ezekiel because it's titled
Mark. Gotcha.
And it's a trilogy.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense then.
So it's more about a marked person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so is the book available now or when is it? So it is available now. So we can go and get it now. Okay.
You can actually get it. You can get the book on my website. You can also get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
But you can't, if you want a hard copy, you would need to go to my website because Amazon just does the Kindle copy. You can download a copy, but you can get both at my website, but you can get it either or Amazon or my website.
Yeah, definitely. Well, MYB, go to the website. That way, it obviously it's traffic to the website, but then also you can learn more about the, Regina's great company and a little bit more about her background and things like that you won't at Amazon. So Amazon gets enough traffic.
Right.
So
and it's a little cheaper on my website.
Right.
I had to plug that.
Exactly. No doubt about it. So are there other people involved, obviously, with your production company, Regina? Talk a little bit about that, along with the book. Are other authors and producers and content creators involved with your company? And, how do people find your company? Do they, are they kind of searching and they come across you and they say, well, here's a platform where I can, kind of leverage my creativity, or are you actively searching for content creators? Kind of walk me through kind of that process.
I am. Well, I'm working with a group now. It's called Mixture of Us.
Okay.
It's a Christian, it's a gospel rap group.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so you can get a snippet of their songs on my website also. It's called Mixture of Us. And I'm also working with some other people because I have a YouTube channel. So I am working with another author right now. She is she has a book out. I won't say her name right now, but she's a survivor, and she's gonna be on soon to talk about her story. And so when that's ready to be publicized, she'll come on. So I'm working with different people. I am looking for a female rap artist.
Okay.
And so it's on my website, the information there, how to get in touch with me and everything there. But I am looking for a Christian female rap artist.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I am looking for that. But so I'm working with different peoples, and I'm also working on trying to build funding for turning one of my screenplays into a film.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. And so, you mentioned, of course, the female Christian rapper. So MYB, if you know someone or if that fits, make sure to connect with Regina and her team. If you've got content, I imagine she'd love to hear your content and
Yes.
get an introduction to you. So definitely do that. Yeah.
One thing I will say is that I'm strictly interested in Christian rappers. So it's not like if you've been rapping out there and you got a couple songs somewhere else, and then you want to change. No,
right. I knew where. That's why I was laughing, because I knew where you were going.
Yeah.
You can't be. If you've been rapping about gangster stuff for 20 years, and then now you want to stretch. Yeah.
Now we can start out as a gangster Christian, but
right.
The group I'm working with right now, they're kind of rough around the edges, but hey.
Right. Yeah. Well, you could probably mold them, some for sure.
Yeah, but they're Christian.
Right.
And two of them are my brothers, so
okay. There you go. Gotcha. So you got family there. You have the family ties for sure. For sure. You mentioned that, since we're talking about family, how important has family been to you operating your business? Obviously you have, your daughters, and you've got your family there. How important have they been in this journey with you?
Oh, so important. Everyone helps.
Yeah.
Everyone helps. My daughter's father, he helps me where he can. My mom, she gives me wisdom, and my brothers, they help me. Everyone helps. So I'm grateful to have that.
Yeah.
I am. Not everyone has that, and I'm aware of that. But I am grateful. And as I said, my dad is deceased, but, he's like the guide as to, he's like the anchor of all of this, because I do want to maintain a Christian company. And so, my family is basically the base of everything. And so they've been very supportive. Yeah.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you for that, because that helps, a lot of people, because you're right. Everybody may not have that, but it's great to hear you speak in reverence of your family, Regina, and especially with your father, who's, not only smiling down, but I'm sure providing ongoing inspiration. So he still lives there within you all by providing that inspiration. Fun question for you. If I were to show up at your house with a Brinks truck, and I've got $100 million cash, and I say, Regina, this is yours, no strings attached, just felt benevolent today, and I drop off $100 million cash money, what would you do with that, and why?
Well, of course I'd use it for the business, but it would also kind of get me to the end of my journey here, which is I really want to start an orphanage. And so I would use that to buy property to start an orphanage. I'm interested in building a safe place for our children, because right now they're in a very unsafe world.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And so that would basically, that would kind of take care of everything.
Yeah, that would put it there.
The ultimate goal,
Right.
I definitely produce the movies that I've written and help other people in the industry. But yeah, I would buy a property. I definitely want to start an orphanage.
Yeah, definitely.
for
No doubt
children.
about it.
Yeah, that's the end goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of children, let me get your thoughts on this, Regina. And it kind of relates back to your business of content creation, right? And the sharing of that, of people's unique abilities to create, art.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, with the current pandemic, and the impact that has on children, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of areas, I'm not sure how it is there right now in your area, but I know around the country, I'm hearing from people that, next month or two is going to be really tough because decisions are having to be made with children going back to school, whether they go back or not, what
Yeah.
virtual learning, what the impact of that on employment and all those type of things.
Yeah.
What's kind of your overall thought on that, and how it may tie to your business at some point, because these children one day will be the content creators that will
Hmm.
be getting introductions to you, to be able to utilize your platform. And so where do you kind of see some of that today? Of course, you don't have the crystal ball to see what tomorrow looks like, but where are you kind of seeing that today, and where do you kind of fall on some of that?
Well, that's one of the reasons I wrote Marked, because I
Hmm.
think that they do need to have the knowledge of Christ,
Hmm.
um, and with their future, because I don't think their future is going to look like any of ours.
Yes,
And that is the
agreed.
honest to goodness truth.
Yes.
I taught for a very long time in PG County, and I am not necessarily happy with the fact that they won't be returning to the classroom, because I think children need they need that, not just the education, they need the socialization.
Yeah.
And so I'm concerned about that. I'm
Yeah,
concerned about
no
that.
doubt about it.
But I definitely, I'm also concerned about the lack of knowledge of the Most High and how He fits in all of this.
Yeah.
Because in my humble estimation, everything that's happening is directly related to Him and what
Hmm.
He's already told us is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of the children, this generation X, which my daughters are in also,
Hmm.
they're disconnected. So I'm hoping my book will connect a lot of them, and I'm hoping that we will get this pandemic um, taken care
Right.
of properly, and and go forward knowing how to um, fight this battle,
Yeah,
because it's not
absolutely.
quite how we're fighting it now.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's a lot of stuff going on that's not being said, and
True.
needs to be addressed.
Yep. No, factual all the way around. And
Yeah.
to go along with your point that creative ways to be able to share the stories from that Christian perspective and the values that come from that, right? That children learn those particular values and
Yes.
helps them be able to, because I think one of the things that this creates an opportunity for is exactly what you're saying, Regina, which is
Hmm.
um, getting us away from that very cookie cutter, you got to read Macbeth and you've got to learn Pythagorean theorem and all this type of
Right.
thing, right?
Right.
And people aren't necessarily learning life skills, how to deal. Pythagorean theorem doesn't help you when you face life's ills, right?
No. No.
um, you have to learn how to think, and you've got to be able to have some kind of, what do you believe in? What's your base? And what's
Yeah.
going to keep you rock solid, when great times come, right?
Right.
Because some people don't handle success well
Right.
either, you know?
Right.
Um, and then there's obviously the challenge we're all familiar with when tough times come.
Yeah.
And I think, one of the things I love about, and look forward to reading the book is, I think it being kind of somewhat cataclysmic in, as we get past, these times,
Yeah.
people adopting more of that holistic, how am I rearing my children in values,
Right.
and not just the back and forth. We talked about social media earlier, and not just this cancel culture of, um, the division by color. right?
Yeah.
The
Oh
color,
my God.
whether my skin color, being black or white, or whatever your nationality or race is, and then the division of blue and red. Obviously, both of us having spent time in D.C., we know the division that gets created where everything gets politicized, right? And everybody's on this side of the fence or that side of the fence. Except for on Sundays when we all say we're all together, and then we walk out of the church, and then everybody it goes to their political beliefs and how they judge people. And I hope that books like yours and others help us to view things holistically and get back to being human, right? And not just all these different things that we use to divide us.
Yeah, definitely. And and just the creativity of it. It's just, it's time. It's time for different mindsets, and just it's just a very important time in the earth right now.
Yep, it is. And your content in your books, I think, help us to think holistically and challenge our critical thinking towards things. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. And even as we fight, of course, we got the man versus virus, which has been in existence since the beginning of time. And then you've got man versus itself, which is when you talk about racial and social injustice of Black people, specifically now. And those two things now being kind of juxtaposed together has made 2020 a very interesting year, to say the least. And again, believing in your company and that organic approach to content that get challenges, our views, Christian or non-Christian, but then helps us get back to those values that at one point in time this country had holistically in general, and that people adopted, and then at some point along the way, we got away from that. And I think we're being challenged as people now, like you alluded to, to get hey, this is our warning shots have been fired.
I'm telling you. I mean, it's like the book teaches to use your armor, and it teaches it, and your armor is very important, because where we're going, you're going to need it. You're going to need it. And kids, a lot of people don't even know what the armor is and how to use it. But it's definitely important right now. And deception is key. This is Regina speaking.
Come on with it, Regina.
Hold you accountable. But
come on with it.
We have an adversary here, and the adversary, he's been here forever, but he knows his time is up. And you have to know how to go forward in this issue, because there's a lot of deception, like you were talking about the racial divide and stuff. There's a lot of deception. And so I just want the body of Christ and believers to make sure that you stay focused on what's important, because there's so much deception going on to divide us.
Yes.
And so you got to stay focused and don't let that side, get you over here so you can get off balance, because we're in war.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you know who we're in war with. So
that's right. That's right. It's deception. It's not, sometimes we give the adversary a lot of, we just give him too much. Most of his antics are deception.
Right.
You can get so much done by deception,
Of course.
So be mindful of that and be awake. Wake up.
Yep. Deception, propaganda, all of those things. Yep. Absolutely. The art of confusion.
I'm from the media, like I said, I School of Communications at Howard, and I worked at CNN for a while. And I tell this story to people. I was there and we were interviewing, I think it was Jackie Onassis, her press secretary back when she was, out there in her prime. Yeah. And so we interviewed the press secretary, who was older at this time. And we went into her house and we interviewed her and everything. And at the end of the interview, when I was leaving out with the crew, and it was someone else, I was an intern, so I was just observing. And I was leaving out with the crew. One of the crew members kind of snickered at something that the woman, I can't remember her name, I'm sorry. It was some time ago, but she was the press secretary of Jackie Onassis. And so one of the crew members started laughing about something. And then the woman said, well, where is she? Where is she? And then she started saying, come here, Mitzi, come here, Bitsy. And she kept talking. And I'm looking around and the crew's laughing. This is to show you the deception out there. The crew's laughing and I'm looking around and I'm looking for Mitzi and Bitsy. And this woman was talking to imaginary dogs.
Wow.
Okay. And so we had interviewed this woman as an expert on the summit of Republican and Democrat. They were having some type of a summit where they got together and spoke. So they were interviewing her as the expert. I tell that story just to say fake news is real. Fake news is real. And not only is it real, the people who are holding the cameras and everything else, a lot of times they're in on it.
Yeah.
I don't know how long I hope I didn't get you in trouble, but
no. This is a podcast. I'm not regulated by any of that.
Okay.
Stuff.
I always like telling that story because I've seen fake news I've seen it. I've been in the middle of it right there. This woman was talking to imaginary dogs and they knew and they laughed and they thought it was funny and it was discouraging to me. So
Yeah, well, I'm glad you told that story because it's eye-opening, I'm sure, to everybody that's listening to this right now that obviously has their concerns with how information is disseminated, right? And we talked about the misdirection and the propaganda and the some of the just downright foolishness that's used to control people and media. Because you got to remember when you talked about the enemy, you got to remember where he comes from. Originally, remember, he was the head of music, right? So he is accustomed to emotion, right? Developing emotion through music, right? And through media, and visuals, right? Things that you hear, things that you see, right? So that's what he comes from, right?
That's right.
And so, people got to remember, he's not making, you're not made to do anything. If you create the deception, right? And you create enough propaganda around something, right? You can get people to be influenced by it and then adopt it. And so it's very critical to your point that we guard our eyes and our ears. That'll help us guard our minds and our hearts and our tongue.
That's right. That's right.
So I'd love to have you back. I just had an idea. I'd love to have you back as part of a panel just to discuss that very point about media. And how information is disseminated. I would love to have that, holistically kind of overall, with different perspectives. I'd love to have a panel podcast and have you be a part of that, Regina, to talk about content and to talk about those very points. Because it's one of the things I loved about podcasting and why I got into it. And you make a tremendous podcaster, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you make a tremendous podcaster. You need to do this. I'm gonna get on Live about. You need to get yours started up because it'd be a great way for you to share. But one of the things I loved about is the organic nature in which we can share content and speak on things without that, like you say, that voice or suits per se being around, telling people what they should say and when and for how long and to what depth, right? And so that's one of the things I loved about controlling the narrative. And that's a thing. If I looked at your company and your background, that's the thing. It's you controlling your narrative and then helping others control their narrative and not be bound so much by the economics of it, right? That can drive so much of the media and things that we share gets into those issues.
That's right. It limits you.
Yeah, it does. Yep, it does. And so, as we wrap up, Regina, because this has been a tremendous conversation. And like you said, I'm serious. I'd love to have you back and have 4 or 5 people and really just kind of hammer home for the purposes of edification, right?
Yeah,
it's not politics. It's not anything, but other than so people can get the authenticity from people who have been behind the scenes, right? Like yourself, who understand sometimes the purposes that are sometimes unscrupulous in terms of how information gets to us. I want to have you do that. So don't forget about me on that.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Anytime. My pleasure.
Yeah, no doubt. As we wrap up, Regina, what are just you've given us a lot of nuggets, but what are just one or two best practices that you've adopted over your career thus far that you think will help others that are listening to this podcast episode?
As far as business, just don't give up,
Mm-hmm.
endure, keep going. And I know everyone hears that. And, when I was out there listening, people would always say that. But I mean, simply, it's just that.
Yeah.
Because eventually you're going to meet up to what you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
So you can't give up. So you have to just keep going until you get there. And so that would be my best point. Don't give up. Just keep going.
Yeah, I love that. And as simple as that is, it's so profound.
Yeah.
And I've always said this, Regina, when people have asked me about doing things, a lot of times I'm not the best in the room or again, I'm a guy doing a podcast who is tongue tied, right? My elementary school teacher would probably fall out of her chair to see me doing this. I need to have her as a guest.
Oh, you're doing a great job.
I appreciate it. But like you say, you have to keep going. Right. You have to stay in and you got to keep going and you've got to believe. And, when I've had success in things, a lot of times it's not because I was the biggest, the best, the fastest, the anything other than I'm there when nobody else is. I keep going when other people, to stop and kind of fall off. So oftentimes by default, I may be the only person that's still left.
That's right.
That challenges me to keep going and to try to perfect. And again, that's why I love the things that I do. And I definitely get that passion from you, loving in an authentic fashion the things that you do. And so, thank you for that. I always love to, when I talk with content creators, to thank them for that authenticity. I know that's, the easiest thing to do is to take a big check, right, and go and become part of the machine, right? But I love the authenticity that you keep to keep things entertain us, yes, but then challenge us and challenge that the way that we think and and give us something to really build on that has meaning. And yeah, exactly.
Can't do anything without meaning.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much, Regina, for this time. This has been an honor for me. It's been tremendous. Speaking with you on this subject. Thank you.
Me as well.
Best wishes to you personally and professionally, to you and your family. Blessings to you and your family.
Thank you so much.
I love to be a resource. So I hope to remain connected. And Olivia, thank you
again. No problem. You as well. We'll stay in touch. We got a network.
Yep. There you go. Regina Curry is our guest today, NYB, here on episode 179. Thank you so much. She's the author, producer, and CEO of Pearl Productions. Make sure, NYB, go to pearlppd.com. Do that. When you get done listening to this episode, the next thing you need to do is go to pearlppd.com and get a copy of the book, read up, connect with Regina and her team, and let her know that you heard her right here on the Minding Your Business podcast. And as you read the book, share your thoughts. Agree, disagree, whatever it is. Share your thoughts and your feedback, because all of us that are business owners, it's best when we can get feedback from people that engage us, so that we can constantly improve and look at where we can go in our next step. So do that for Regina, if you would. Go to pearlppd.com, purchase the book. Okay, purchase it. Okay. With your money, right? Y'all got the money. Go purchase it. And I'm going to follow in leadership. So I'm going to go, when I get off, I'm going to go purchase it as well. So I don't tell y'all to do nothing I don't do. So I'm going to purchase it. I will post my picture of my book when I receive it. And then don't just buy it and take a picture with it. Read it. The words on the pages, flip them, read them, share it with your friends and family. Encourage 5 other people. This is how we support. And this is how you get support, by giving support. Because you never know, connecting with Regina, what that might lead to for you. So for those of you that are building your business, I'm telling you, do that. Connect with people. This is a great podcasting provides a great opportunity for you to connect with people 20 years ago, 30 years ago would have cost us a lot of money to do. For me and Regina to have this conversation. Y'all remember what your grandmama used to say about calling long distance, right? Me and her get to have long distance conversation here virtually for free now. Right. So leverage this and utilize this as an opportunity. But Regina, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For what you do and what you endure and what you provide for us with your company. And so before we get out of here, make sure you go to brandyourpod.com. If you want to leverage me as a resource to help you launch your podcast, I do that. Go to brandyourpod.com. I'm working with some of my bank clients as well as some individuals. During these times, people want to hear from you and they want to hear your story. They want to hear some best practices from you, like you heard today from Regina. So get with me, brandyourpod.com. I have a free demo coming up. I'm an equity partner with a software company, financial software, Leverage. That's LeverageCalc, CALC.com. So LeverageCalc.com is where you can learn more. But if you go to my website, which is brooksbrothersconsulting.com/leverage, brooksbrothersconsulting.com/leverage, you can sign up for a free demo, MYB, no cost to you, and you can see the software work in real time and ask questions and that sort of thing. It's designed to give you, again, leverage, no pun intended, to that conversation with your lender. So if you're borrowing money for your business, if you're borrowing money to purchase a real estate, don't go into that blind. Okay, your banker already knows their underwriting criteria, but you don't. All right. So this software leverages that, allows you to know the financial backing of your deal, whether it makes sense, whether your purchase price is right, and it's a financeable deal. And if you're borrowing money, it helps you understand your financials. One, it'll let you know if you're approved before you even talk to the lender, so they can't play that monkey business with you. Okay. And you're talking to someone that was a banker for 17 years. I know it's a better conversation with your banker if you already know what you should be approved for. And then it also helps you guide through that repayment piece. So once you get the loan, right, you want to pay it off and you want to use it to grow and edify your business to take you to the next step. It's not just getting the loan just so you can have a monthly payment, right? I don't subscribe to that. This is not, it's not just to have a line of credit so you can tell folk you got a line of credit. Right. This is about what are you using it for to then edify your business. Does it create revenue? Does it provide a job for somebody else or an opportunity for someone else to eventually even have their own business? So sign up for the software demo. It is Wednesday, August the 5th at noon. It is live. If you're not registered anyway, if you're not able to attend at that time, no worries. Go ahead and register, MYB, so then you can get a copy of the recording so you can watch it at your leisure. But I want everybody would be interested to check out that free demo. Again, brooksbrothersconsulting.com/leverage. Listen, we're going to get out of here. Thank you again to Regina Curry. Again, Pearl. Yes, absolutely. PearlPPD.com. Make sure you do that. When I get off of here, I've got another meeting. But before I get on that meeting, I'm placing my order. You do the same, MYB. And remember, the three, yes, absolutely, Regina. No doubt. We're going to do that. Let me leave you all with this, like I always do. There's three things that unite us, no matter how we look in the mirror or where we come from. We all want to do a little better for ourselves, a little better for our families, and a little better for our community. So remember that with every person that you come across. All right. No matter how they look, no matter where they're from. Right. Remember, we all strive for those three things. We may not always agree with how we get there, but we all strive for those three things. And so make sure that you remember that. Champion, the Mind Your Business podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Regina. I really appreciate it. It's been tremendous. And we're going to remain in touch. Okay.
Likewise. Thank you.
All right. Sure. All right. I'll see you later.
Okay.